2010, I had just graduated with an MA in gender, sexuality, and something else that employers have no idea what it means. And 2009, 2010 was also that time when there was the worst economic crisis that the world had seen in quite some time. So I was unemployed. And I met a stranger, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to go and teach English in Korea, you should come with me." And I said, "Okay, sure, why not?" It's probably a good idea that it's probably a good thing that he wasn't one of those strangers who's like, "Come and look at my puppies in my blacked out van," because I probably would have said yes to that too. And I really like puppies. So, 6 months and an 18-hour flight later, I took a giant step for me and a very, very small step for the education of Korean children, and I landed on the tarmac at Seoul Airport. And the first thing that hit me was the humidity. It was like stepping into a bathroom after somebody else has had a shower. Just. The second thing was the sound. Coming from Yorkshire, I'd never heard cicadas before, and it was the loudest, weirdest noise I'd ever heard. And then the third thing that hit me was the hunger. So I had done a little bit of research before I went to Korea about all the important things, food, obviously. And I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge because I'm a vegetarian, and I've been a vegetarian since I was 16. So the problem in Korea is that pretty much everything has meat in it. And things like spam or really, really ground up beef called bulgogi is not considered to be a meat. So even if you ask for something vegetarian, the chances are you'll get some spam in it. So I was prepared to be flexible. Not eating meat, but like eating around meat, or like picking meat out. Just because food and meals together are really important in Korean business life to cement relationships. And I was already going to be standing out enough as quite a tall white girl, so I didn't need to stand out anymore. So my first meal in Korea at the airport was a can of Coke and a packet of crisps. I then had an 8-day orientation in a university campus where the canteen had tried to sort of, I guess, make us all feel comfortable by blending Eastern cuisine and Western cuisine together with interesting results. So the best example was the cereal salad, which was a normal salad with cornflakes in it. And that would have been okay if it had been at breakfast, but this was for dinner, so. Then during our orientation, our 8-day orientation, we got taken to an authentic Korean restaurant for the authentic experience. So we sat down on the floor, because that's how you do it. It wasn't like they run out of chairs. So we sat on the floor and they brought out this meal, and I was overjoyed to find out that it was actually vegetarian. It was called bibimbap, which is a very, very hot container with rice that's kind of stuck to the bottom, and then some vegetables and a raw egg. And you mix it all together, and the egg cooks, and you eat it, and it's really good. And I was very proud of myself for embracing Korean culture. So I decided to reward myself with a dessert, and I went to the ice cream freezer and was ready to choose an ice cream. And I ignored the familiar brands like the Walls and the Magnums, and I ignored those and went for one that had Korean packaging because, you know, integration is very important. I have never regretted an ice cream choice in my life so quickly. So I took off the wrapper from this ice cream, and it was the most phallic looking ice cream I've ever seen in my life. It was flesh coloured, and it had like a nice tip, rounded tip, and it was about this long. So I turned to my friend and I was like, "How are we going to eat this?" And she was like, so naive, it was lovely. She said, what's the problem? And I was like, and then she understood. So And it turned out that trying to eat it faster didn't make it any better. And then I got to my job at my school, and I was had every day the school dinners. And at that point, I was so new that I knew that I couldn't bring my own lunch, so I just had to eat, or rather not eat, anything that the school dinners had. And there was no choice. It was one meal for the entire school every day. And it's very hard to pick around the meat when your meal is a soup made with meat broth. So I basically just had rice. And at the end of this week, the vice principal came up to me and said, Vicky, we are going for a meal this evening. It's a very special meal. You'll be there. And it wasn't an invitation, it was a command. So I got into the car of one of my co-workers, and she was so lovely, and she used her best English to tell me, oh, we're going to a dog meat restaurant. Yeah, that was my reaction. Oh. So in the 6 months between deciding to go to Korea and going to Korea, I had spent a lot of that time correcting people who'd said, oh. So when like family friends would say, oh, what do they eat in Korea? And my dad would say, dog. I'm like, no. They only eat dog on very special occasions and in special dedicated dog meat restaurants. And then the friend would say, oh, is it going to be difficult to be vegetarian in Korea? And my dad would be like, yes, because of all the dog. No, Daddy, actually, there's no like accidental eating of dog meat. You have to specifically order it. You can't go to McDonald's and have a dog burger, okay? And then here I was, 6 months of my righteousness, because as I was on my way to a dog meat restaurant, and I really, really love dogs. So, but I also, you know, in an attempt to be open and a good guest teacher, I just sat there and didn't say anything. We got to the restaurant and we took off our shoes, and the PE teacher was now like visibly salivating and saying to me, oh, you like dogs? And I was like, yeah, but no. I couldn't eat a whole one. And then on the table, so there's like a gas burner in the middle of the table, and there's a huge big pan of meat sitting there already waiting for us, and the smell is meaty, and the smell is, and the smell is the smell dog, I don't know. So, but then I had argued, okay, if you eat cow and if you eat pig, how can you judge somebody else for eating dog? But I don't eat cow and I don't eat pig, so I don't want to eat dog. To take my mind off the situation and to try and stop myself from crying, I decided I was just going to look out the window for a bit, take some deep breaths, and remember that I'm a liberal. So I was looking out the window and sort of focusing on the cartoon on the restaurant front. So a lot of Korean restaurants have cartoons on the front of the animal that you can go and eat, which I think is a little bit tasteless. They're like, yeah, a pig sat there holding a fork going, I'm so good I can eat myself, yeah. Or like a happy, cheerful cow going, pointing at its buttocks. So I'm sat there looking out the window, and I noticed, like, just to take my mind off it, start focusing on the yellow, the yellow cartoon? The yellow cartoon of an animal wearing Wellingtons, and then it hit me. This was not a dog meat restaurant, this was a duck meat restaurant. And I was like, oh, thank God for that. And I was so relieved, like, I mean, obviously not for the ducks, it was still pretty bad for the ducks, but the dogs were okay. So I devoted quite a lot of my time to the teaching in Korea to make sure that my students could all say with a really, really northern accent, duck, as opposed to dog, so that they wouldn't have any more situations like I found myself in. So I'd just like to finish by saying that no dogs were hurt in the making of this story, but quite a lot of ducks were. So thank you very much.